In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad.
Commentary. In the Holy Quran, Surah Maryam has been placed immediately after Surah Al-Kahf, presumably because there appears some kind of similarity between the two surahs. While the former deals with some unusual anecdotes, the latter also covers a number of extraordinary events or letters known in Arabic as, whose meanings, like, are known only to Allah Ta'ala, and people should not even attempt to probe their meanings.
This is a mention of the mercy of your Lord to his servant Zechariah.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 1 for the Tafsir.
When he called to his Lord a private supplication.
A low voice, Surah Maryam, Ayah 3, tells us that it is better to beseech Allah in supplication in undertone. Sayyidina Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas has narrated that the Holy Prophet once said, "Surely the best way to make supplication to Allah is in undertone, and the best sustenance is that which is sufficient for one's needs, i.e. neither more nor less than required." Hutubai.
He said, "My Lord, indeed my bones have weakened, and my head has filled with white, and never have I been in my supplication to you, my Lord, unhappy.
Here I am that bones within me have turned feeble, and the head has flared up grey with old age." Surah Maryam, Ayah 4. Human body becomes weak with the aging of bones, because it is the bones which keep the body firm and upright. When bones lose their strength, the whole body turns weak. The literal meaning of it is a sudden burst of fire. Here the word is used as a simile for grey hair covering the head like a glow of fire. Mention of one's needs in supplication is desirable. Here Sayyidina Zechariah, before making his supplication, mentioned about his weakness and old age by referring to his bones. One of the reasons for this was, as pointed out in the translation, that in his peculiar circumstances, i.e. his old age and physical weakness, it was not appropriate for him to ask for a child. Another reason given by Imam Qurtubi in his commentary is that for possible acceptance of supplication, it is better to mention one's weakness, destitution, and inadequacy. For this reason, religious scholars have emphasized that one should recount Allah Ta'ala's blessings and his own exigency before making his supplication.
And indeed, I fear the successors after me, and my wife has been barren, so give me from yourself an heir.
Is the plural of. This word has many meanings in the Arabic language, one of them being a cousin, or other relations on the father's side. Here the word has been used in the sense,
who will inherit me and inherit from the family of Jacob, and make him, my Lord, pleasing to you.
The legacy of prophets cannot be inherited. Who inherits me and inherits the house of Yaqub? Surah Maryam, Ayah 6. The religious scholars are all agreed that here the inheritance does not mean wealth, because in the first place, it has not been established that Sayyidina Zechariah had much wealth. Hence, the question as to who would inherit the same does not arise. Secondly, it is inconsistent with the exalted position of a prophet to concern himself with such matters. And thirdly, a saying of the Holy Prophet which has been unanimously accepted by all religious scholars says, "Indeed the knowledgeable scholars are the inheritors of the prophets, because the prophets do not leave any material wealth. Their legacy is knowledge. One who has acquired knowledge has received great fortune." The above saying of the Prophet is also recorded in Al-Kafi by Al-Kulini, the well-known book of the Shiite school. It is narrated in Sahih al-Bukhari through Sayyidah Aisha, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Holy Prophet said, "No one inherits our, i.e. Prophet's, wealth, because whatever wealth we leave behind is sadaqah, charity." In the verse itself, after the addition of the word Surah Maryam, Ayat 6 confirms the view that here the material inheritance is not implied, because the son, Yahya, could not have inherited the material wealth of the family of Sayyidina Yaqub, which could only be inherited by their near relations and not by Sayyidina Yahya. It is against the law of inheritance for distant relations to receive any part of inheritance in the presence of close relatives. Ra'ul Ma'ani quotes the following from Al-Kafi by Al-Kulani. The well-known Shia scholar, Suleiman Ali, was the heir of Dawud and Muhammad was the heir of Suleiman. It is quite obvious that the Holy Prophet did not inherit any material wealth from Suleiman, nor did Suleiman receive any such inheritance from Dawud. Clearly the reference here is to the wisdom and the knowledge which all prophets of Allah possess.
He was told, "O Zechariah, Indeed, we give you good tidings of a boy whose name will be John. We have not assigned to any before this name.
We did not create anyone before him of the same name. Surah Maryam, Ayat 7. The word means person having the same name. It also means similar. If the first meaning is adopted here, then it would suggest that no one else had the name Yahya before him. This fact also suggests that he possessed certain special attributes, which were not granted to anyone else before him. And if we take the second meaning of the word, then it will mean that some of his attributes and situations were such that they were peculiar to him and were not shared by any other prophet, and that he was unique in the possession of those special attributes, for instance his self-abnegation and denial of worldly comforts. However, it does not necessarily follow that he was superior to all the prophets who preceded him, for the superiority of Sayyidina Ibrahim Khalilullah and Sayyidina Musa Kalimullah over him is established and well known. Majari.
He said, My Lord, how will I have a boy when my wife has been barren and I have reached extreme old age?
The word is derived from which actually means unresponsive or insensitive, and in the present context it means dryness of the bones.
An angel said, Thus it will be. Your Lord says, It is easy for me, for I created you before, while you were nothing.
See Surah Maryam, Ayat 8 for the Tafsir.
Zechariah said, My Lord, make for me a sign. He said, Your sign is that you will not speak to the people for 3 nights, being sound.
Means healthy. This word has been added here to denote that Sayyidina Zechariah's loss of speech for 3 days was not due to any illness, for during this entire period of 3 days he could utter words of prayer and supplication. This special condition was a miracle and a sign from Allah Ta'ala about his wife's pregnancy.
So he came out to his people from the prayer chamber and signaled to them to exalt Allah in the morning and afternoon.
See Surah Maryam, Ayat 10 for the Tafsir.
Allah said, O John, take the scripture with determination. And we gave him judgment while yet a boy.
See Surah Maryam, Ayat 10 for the Tafsir.
And affection from us and purity, and he was fearing of Allah.
Literal meaning of this word is soft-heartedness, compassion and mercy, and these qualities were specially granted to Sayyidina Yahya.
And dutiful to his parents, and he was not a disobedient tyrant.
See Surah Maryam, Ayat 13 for the Tafsir.
And peace be upon him the day he was born, and the day he dies, and the day he is raised alive.
See Surah Maryam, Ayat 13 for the Tafsir.
And mention, O Muhammad, in the book the story of Mary, when she withdrew from her family to a place toward the east.
Commentary. The word is derived from which means to throw away or to cast away. Hence, the meaning of is to withdraw from the crowd denotes that she retired to a secluded corner of the house facing east. The purpose of her shifting to a secluded corner of the house has been differently explained. Some say she had moved there to take a bath, while others say that she had moved as usual to a secluded corner on the eastern side of her place of worship for offering her prayers. Qurtubi has given preference to the second explanation. According to Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, this is the reason why the Christians face east when offering their prayers and revere the eastern direction.
And she took, in seclusion from them, a screen. Then we sent to her our angel, and he represented himself to her as a well-proportioned man.
Then we sent to her our spirit. Surah Maryam, Ayat 17. A majority of scholars hold the view that spirit refers to Sayyidina Jibril, but some say that it refers to Sayyidina Isa himself. Allah Ta'ala had placed before Sayyidina Maryam the likeness of the son to be born to her, but the former version is more appropriate and is confirmed by the statement that follows. He took before her the form of a perfect human. Surah Maryam, Ayat 17. It is not given to a human being to see an angel in its real form, because he will be overwhelmed by fright at such an experience. This indeed is that happened to the Holy Prophet in the cave of Hira on his first encounter with Sayyidina Jibril and again later on. Sayyidina Jibril appeared before Sayyidah Maryam in the form of a man so as not to frighten her. When Sayyidah Maryam saw a man near her, she became apprehensive of his intentions and said,
She said, Indeed, I seek refuge in the Most Merciful from you, so leave me, if you should be fearing of Allah.
Seek refuge of the Rahman, all-merciful, against you. Surah Maryam, Ayah 18. Some reports have it that when Sayyidina Jibril heard these words, he retreated a little in reverence of Allah's name. If you are God-fearing. Surah Maryam, Ayah 18. These are the words which a helpless person would utter to a cruel oppressor, begging him that if he is a believer then he should desist from tormenting him. The intention is that Sayyidah Maryam entreated Sayyidina Jibril, who stood before her in the guise of a man, that he should fear Allah and abstain from evil deeds. In short, the expression, if you are God-fearing, Surah Maryam, Ayah 18, is not a precondition for seeking the protection of Allah, but a condition to make her prayer more effective and inducing. Some other commentators have said that this expression is used for emphasis, meaning that even if you fear Allah, I seek His protection, and if the position is otherwise, then I shall seek Allah's refuge with added vehemence. Mashari.
He said, I am only the messenger of your Lord, to give you news of a pure boy.
To give you a boy, Surah Maryam, Ayah 19. Here Sayyidina Jibril had attributed to himself the gift of the child because Allah Ta'ala had sent him in order that he should breathe into her collar, and this breath would be the means of her conceiving the child, whereas in reality this gift was by the act of Allah.
She said, How can I have a boy while no man has touched me and I have not been unchaste?
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 19 for the Tafsir.
He said, Thus it will be. Your Lord says, It is easy for me, and we will make him a sign to the people and a mercy from us, and it is a matter already decreed.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 19 for the Tafsir.
So she conceived him, and she withdrew with him to a remote place.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 19 for the Tafsir.
And the pains of childbirth drove her to the trunk of a palm tree. She said, Oh, I wish I had died before this and was in oblivion, forgotten.
Commentary. Injunction in respect of desire for death. If her desire for death was due to worldly problems, then she may be excused on the ground that she was overpowered by the surrounding circumstances, and had reached a state of mind usually called by the mystics as Galabatul. But if the desire for death was due to religious consideration, it was justifiable in its own right, because she feared that people would talk ill of her, and she would not be able to endure it with patience. This could be tantamount to committing a sin of showing impatience, and only death could save her from such a predicament. The vow of silence has been prohibited under the Islamic law. Before the advent of Islam, silence was also a form of worship, and those who observed this fast were not supposed to speak from dawn to dusk. Islam cancelled this fast and made it mandatory to refrain from idle talk, lying and backbiting. Refraining from normal conversation is not a form of worship in Islam anymore, and hence to take a vow of silence is also not permissible. Abu Dawud, may Allah have mercy on him, has reported the following hadith from the Holy Prophet. It means that a child who has lost his father may not be regarded as an orphan after attaining puberty, and the rules pertaining to an orphan cease to apply on him. And that remaining silent from dawn to dusk is not a form of worship in Islam. This hadith has been rated by us, Sayyidi and Al-Azizi as Hassan. She has been directed to eat the dates because it has been established medically that the use of water and dates gives relief in labor pains. Conceiving a child without copulation with a man is not totally impossible. That Sayyidah Maryam conceived and gave birth to a child was a miracle. And miracles, however improbable they may be in appearance, are not beyond Allah's power. Rather, the more improbable they are, the more pronounced their miraculous nature. However, it cannot be taken as totally impossible, because according to some books of medical science, the lubricants found inside the female genitals are not merely a passive agent for conceiving a child. They also have a capacity of being active and a potential to make fetus by themselves without an external semen joining them. Ibn Sina, Avicenna, the famous medical scientist, has mentioned in his book Al-Kanon that in a special disease, named by him as Raja, an imperfect form of even the organs of a fetus is shaped in the uterus of a woman without the intermediation of a male semen. So long as this potential is there, it cannot be taken as totally impossible, because some abnormal factor may increase this potential. In verse Surah Maryam, ayah 25, Allah Ta'ala commanded Sayyidah Maryam to shake the date tree, although it was within his power to drop the dates in her lap. But here the suggestion is that one should strive to earn one's living, and that the struggle for sustenance does not conflict with one's trust in Allah. Ra'ul Ma'ani.
But he called her from below her, "Do not grieve, your Lord has provided beneath you a stream."
The literal meaning of the word appearing in verse Surah Maryam, ayah 24, is a small canal. Allah Ta'ala caused a small stream to flow at the moment either by his direct command or through Sayyidina Jibreel. There are reports supporting both these probabilities. It is worth noting here that while describing the means to bring consolation to Sayyidah Maryam, water was mentioned first, and then date as something to eat.
And shake toward you the trunk of the palm tree. It will drop upon you ripe, fresh dates.
See Surah Maryam, ayah 24, for the Tafsir.
So eat and drink and be contented. And if you see from among humanity anyone, say, "Indeed, I have vowed to the most merciful abstention, so I will not speak today to any man."
But in the matter of their actual use, the order was reversed, i.e. eating was enjoined first, and then drinking. It is perhaps because normally a person first makes arrangement for drinking water and then for food, especially such food as is more likely to produce thirst. But when it comes to their use, the sequence gets reversed, i.e. one eats first and then drinks water. Ra'ul Ma'ani.
Then she brought him to her people, carrying him. They said, "O Mary, you have certainly done a thing unprecedented."
Commentary. Then she came to her people carrying him. Surah Maryam, ayah 27. These words suggest that when Sayyidah Maryam was comforted by the supernatural indications that Allah Ta'ala will protect her from disgrace, she took the newborn baby with her to her house. As to the time when she returned home after giving birth to the child, Ibn Asakir has narrated through Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, that she returned home to her people 40 days after the birth of the child, i.e. after the completion of the period of Nifas, the bleeding period, after the birth of a child. Ra'ul Ma'ani, something grave indeed, Surah Maryam. Ayah 27. The word in Arabic language means to cut or to split, and is used to describe a task where a great deal of cutting and chopping is involved. However, Abu Hayyan has said that the word means anything having preposterous and extraordinary significance, and may be used both in good and in bad sense. In the present context, it is used to describe something monstrous, hence translated in the text as something grave. Generally, this word is used for things which are known to be bad and corrupt in the extreme.
O sister of Aaron, your father was not a man of evil, nor was your mother unchaste.
O sister of Harun, Surah Maryam, ayah 28. Sayyidina Harun, who was the brother and companion of Sayyidina Musa, had died centuries before Sayyidina Maryam time. It is obvious, therefore, that in verse Surah Maryam, ayah 28, where Sayyidina Maryam is addressed as the sister of Sayyidina Harun, cannot be in its literal sense. This is also corroborated by the incident that when the Holy Prophet sent Sayyidina Mawhir ibn Shuba, may Allah be pleased with him, as his ambassador to the people of Najran, they questioned him that in the Quran Sayyidina Maryam has been referred to as the sister of Sayyidina Harun, where, as he had died long before her, Sayyidina Mawhir, may Allah be pleased with him, did not know the answer to this question. So, when he returned from the mission, he narrated the whole incident to the Holy Prophet. On this the Holy Prophet said, "Why did you not tell them that it has been a common practice with the believers to adopt the names of the prophets in expectation of receiving their barakah, blessings, and to claim relationship with them?" Almad Muslim, Tirmidhi Nasai. This saying of the Prophet may be interpreted in two ways. One, that Sayyidah Maryam's relationship with Sayyidina Harun was mentioned because she was of his lineage, and it was customary with the Arabs to associate a person with their ancestors. For instance, a man belonging to the tribe of Tamim would be called as Akka Tamim, or Tamim his brother, or an Arab would be addressed as Akka Arab. The other meaning is that the name Harun does not refer to Sayyidina Harun, the companions, the brother of Sayyidina Musa, but to the brother of Sayyidah Maryam herself, who was also named after Sayyidina Harun out of reverence for the Prophet. In the second case, the term Harun, sister of Harun, fits in very well with the literal meaning of the word sister. Neither your father was a man of evil. Surah Maryam, ayah 28. These words suggest that when someone who is descended from righteous and pious ancestors commits a sin, then the sin is of greater magnitude compared to a sin committed by an ordinary person, because the sin brings bad name to the pious elders. It is for this reason that descendants of pious persons should make extra effort in the performance of righteous deeds, and fear Allah at all times.
So she pointed to him. They said, "How can we speak to one who is in the cradle, a child?"
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 28 for the Tafsir.
Jesus said, "Indeed, I am the servant of Allah. He has given me the scripture and made me a prophet."
I am the servant of Allah. Surah Maryam, Ayah 30. There is a report that when her family members started berating and censuring Sayyidah Maryam, Sayyidina Isa was sucking milk. When he heard their accusations, he stopped sucking milk and moved over to his left side facing them, and raising his index finger he said, i.e., I am the servant of Allah. In this way, in his very first words, Sayyidina Isa made it clear that although his birth was a miracle, he himself was not God, but only a servant of God. This was to eliminate forever the possibility of people worshipping him as God due to his miraculous birth. He has given me the book and made me a prophet. Surah Maryam, Ayah 30. In these words, Sayyidina Isa, even in his infancy, announced his future prophethood and the revelation to him of a sacred book from Allah Ta'ala. Since no prophet has been granted prophethood in a sacred book before the age of 40 years, therefore this pre-announcement of his prophethood by Sayyidina Isa here means to convey in advance that he would be bestowed prophethood and the book at the proper time. In a similar manner, the Holy Prophet said that he was bestowed prophethood even before Adam was yet in the process of his creation. This shows that the promise for granting prophethood to Sayyidina Muhammad al-Mustafa was firm and final. Here too, because of the certainty of occurrence, the grant of prophethood is referred to in the past tense. By announcing his future prophethood, he, Sayyidina Isa, dispelled people's doubts and exonerated his mother from the charge of fornication, because his being a prophet was proof enough that his birth was free from any blemish.
And he has made me blessed wherever I am, and has enjoined upon me prayer and zakah as long as I remain alive.
And has enjoined salah and zakah upon me. Surah Maryam, Ayah 31. The word is derived from the word wasiya, which normally means to bequeath, but when used in the context of issuing an order, it implies an emphatic command, and here it is used to put emphasis on a command of Allah. For this reason, it is translated in the text as enjoined. Here Sayyidina Isa has said that Allah Ta'ala had commanded him to offer prayers and give the obligatory charity, zakah, the intention being that he was commanded to observe both these duties with great diligence. Prayers and zakah are two forms of worship which have been enjoined as obligatory in the Shar'iyah laws of all the prophets from Adam to the last of the prophets, Muhammad. However, their details vary in different codes. In the Shar'iyah of Sayyidina Isa, prayers and zakah were also made compulsory. It is true that Isa was never wealthy, neither did he build a house for himself, nor did he accumulate any material riches. Then why was he enjoined to pay zakah? The answer is that this injunction is of general application in that whosoever possesses a certain level of wealth is liable to pay zakah. This injunction applied to Isa as well, i.e., whenever he acquired wealth up to the level of nisab, he was required to pay zakah. But if his wealth remains below nisab throughout his life, he would never be liable to pay zakah. This situation, therefore, is not in conflict with the general rules governing zakah. As long as I am alive. Surah Maryam, Ayah 31. It means that the injunction of prayers and zakah is forever, i.e., as long as I live. It is obvious that the reference here is to the life in this world, because these duties can be performed only here in this world.
And made me dutiful to my mother, and he has not made me a wretched tyrant.
And he has made me good to my mother. Surah Maryam, Ayah 32. Here only the mother is mentioned, and not both the parents. Hence it is implied that his birth was a miracle, being without a father. Such a discourse coming from an infant was a miracle by itself to prove his miraculous birth.
And peace is on me the day I was born, and the day I will die, and the day I am raised alive.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 32 for the Tafsir.
That is Jesus, the son of Mary, the word of truth about which they are in dispute.
Commentary. This is Isa, the son of Maryam. Surah Maryam, Ayah 34. The beliefs of the Jews and the Christians about Sayyidina Isa were on such opposite extremes that the Christians exalted him to such a level of reverence that they regarded him as the son of Allah. The Jews, on the other hand, denigrated him maliciously and called him, God forbid, the illegitimate son of Yusuf, Joseph the carpenter. Allah Ta'ala has pointed out the error of both the views in these verses and clarified the correct position. The phrase translated in the text as the word of truth in the normal reading is with fatha on the letter lam. In this case, the sentence along with its understood words will run like that is, I say the word of truth. However, in some readings the letter lam in call is rendered with demaidi. In this case the sentence will mean that Sayyidina Isa himself was a word of truth. It is, then, analogous to the title of the Word of Allah, which is given to him to denote that he was born directly by the Word of Allah, having no connection with an apparent cause in this world. Hotu Pai.
It is not befitting for Allah to take a son. Exalted is He. When He decrees an affair, He only says to it, Be, and it is.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 34 for the Tafsir.
Jesus said, And indeed, Allah is my Lord and your Lord, so worship Him. That is a straight path.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 34 for the Tafsir.
Then the factions differed concerning Jesus from among them. So woe to those who disbelieved, from a scene of a tremendous day.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 34 for the Tafsir.
How clearly they will hear and see the day they come to us, but the wrongdoers today are in clear error.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 34 for the Tafsir.
And warn them, O Muhammad, of the day of regret, when the matter will be concluded, and yet they are in a state of heedlessness, and they do not believe.
The day of remorse, in verse Surah Maryam, Ayah 39 refers to the day of judgment and has been called the day of remorse because on that day persons consigned to hell as punishment for their evil deeds will regret their disregard of the righteous way of life and wish that if they had lived the life of true believers, they too would have been in paradise instead of being punished in hell. Even those who have been rewarded with paradise will feel a different kind of remorse. Al-Tabarani and Abu Yala have quoted the following saying of the Prophet on the authority of Say, Ibn Ahmad, may Allah be pleased with him. The people of paradise will regret only one thing, namely those moments which were spent without the remembrance of Allah. And Al-Baid-Howi, may Allah have mercy on him, has narrated quoting Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Holy Prophet said, Everyone will experience remorse and regret after death. The companions of the Holy Prophet asked him what would be that remorse and regret about. Then the Holy Prophet explained that those who acted righteously will regret not having performed more righteous deeds which would have helped them attain a higher position in paradise. On the other hand, the evildoers will repent their evil actions and sins. Majari.
Indeed, it is we who will inherit the earth and whoever is on it, and to us they will be returned.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 39 for the Tafsir.
And mention in the book the story of Abraham. Indeed, he was a man of truth and a prophet.
Commentary. Meaning of Siddiq. Siddiq, a man of truth. A prophet. Surah Maryam, Ayah 41. The word Siddiq is a Quranic term which has been defined differently by different scholars. Some say it is applied to one who has never told a lie in his life. Others describe Siddiq as one who is truthful in his beliefs, words and deeds. In other words, his utterances truly reflect his beliefs, and his actions in turn match with his beliefs and words. Ra'ul, Ma'ani, and Majari have adopted the latter meaning of the word. Then there are different degrees of truthfulness, i.e. those who fall within this definition are placed at different pedestals. Only a prophet can be true. While every prophet is gifted with this attribute, not everyone who has it is a prophet. A believer who follows in the footsteps of his prophet and attains this exalted position of truthfulness can also be called Siddiq. The Holy Quran itself has given the title of Sayyida Maryam, despite the view of the overwhelming majority that she was not a prophet, and that a woman cannot be a prophet.
Mentioned when he said to his father, O my father, why do you worship that which does not hear and does not see and will not benefit you at all?
How to give counsel to elders. My dear father, Surah Maryam, Ayah 42. In Arabic language, this word conveys deep respect and intense love for one's father. Allah Ta'ala had combined in the person of Sayyidina Khalilullah the noble qualities and attributes, and his address to his father is a perfect example of moderation and restraint on the one hand, and the balancing of the opposites on the other. He finds his father living a life of unbelief and polytheism, and also calling upon other people to follow him in a life of sin, the very things which he was sent to eradicate. At the same time, there is the filial love and respect which he feels towards his father. Now, the thing to note is how well he combines the two conflicting feelings together. In the first place, he uses the word, which is the mark of love and respect for his father, in the beginning of each sentence of the address. Then there is not a single derogatory word in his address which could hurt the feelings of his father, and words such as infidel or sinner have been carefully avoided. Instead, guided by prophetic wisdom, he merely invited his father's attention to the helplessness and insensitivity of his idols, so that he might himself realize the fallacy of his beliefs. In the second sentence, he made a mention of the prophetic knowledge that was granted to him by Allah Ta'ala. Then in the third and fourth sentences, he warned him against the divine wrath, which would surely fall on him as a punishment for infidelity and idolatry. Even to these respectful entreaties his father did not pay any heed, and instead of giving any thought to what was said to him and adopting a gentle attitude, he addressed him in a very harsh language, whereas Sayyidina Ibrahim had addressed him with the loving words of which should have called for a soft and tender response, such as "my dear son." He chose to call him by his name and said, and not only threatened to stone him to death, but also asked him to leave his house. Sayyidina Khalilullah responded to this threat as worthy of deep reflection.
O my father, indeed there has come to me of knowledge that which has not come to you, so follow me. I will guide you to an even path.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 42 for the Tafsir.
O my father, do not worship Satan. Indeed, Satan has ever been, to the most merciful, disobedient.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 42 for the Tafsir.
O my father, indeed I fear that there will touch you a punishment from the most merciful, so you would be to Satan a companion in hellfire.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 42 for the Tafsir.
His father said, Have you no desire for my gods, O Abraham? If you do not desist, I will surely stone you, so avoid me a prolonged time.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 42 for the Tafsir.
Abraham said, Peace will be upon you. I will ask forgiveness for you of my Lord. Indeed, He is ever gracious to me.
Peace on you. Here the word peace may carry two meanings. One, that the word is used to signify severance of relations in a polite manner so as not to cause hurt to his father. This practice has been described in the Holy Qur'an as an attribute of good and pious people. An example in point are the words, when ignorant people speak to them, they reply peacefully. Surah Al-Furqan, Ayah 63. It means that when the ignorant people say foolish things to them, they simply say salami, peace, instead of getting involved into an argument with them. This is a way of conveying to them that though I do not agree with your views, I will not harm you. The second explanation is that the word has been used in the conventional sense. But here the problem is that the Holy Prophet has forbidden the believers to be the first to greet an infidel with the word on meeting him. The following saying of the Holy Prophet has been reported in Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim on the authority of Sayyidina Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him. Do not be the first to greet Jews and Christians with the word. On the other hand, Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim have also reported through Sayyidina Yusma, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Holy Prophet had greeted first a group of people with the word in which infidels, polytheists, and Muslims were all present. This explains the differences which have developed among jurists on the question of propriety or otherwise of this practice. By their words and actions, eminent companions of the Holy Prophet, their followers and leaders of religious thought have expressed different views on this issue. Qutubah has treated this subject in great detail while explaining this verse in his book Al-Mukhtasar. Imam An-Nakai has ruled that when one meets an infidel, a Jew or a Christian, on a religious or worldly need, then there is no harm in taking lead in greeting him with the word, but one should avoid greeting first when there is no need to meet him. Thus both the sayings of the Prophet have been reconciled. I shall seek forgiveness for you from my Lord. Surah Maryam, Ayah 47. Here again the problem is that to ask for forgiveness for the sins of an infidel is prohibited and unlawful by Islamic laws. The Holy Prophet had said to his uncle Abu Talib, that is, by God, I shall keep on praying to Allah for your forgiveness until I am forbidden to do so by him. On this the following verse was revealed. It is not for the Prophet and the believers to seek forgiveness for the mushriks. Surah At-Tawbah, Ayah 113. After the revelation of this verse, he stopped seeking forgiveness for his uncle. The answer to this confusion is that Sayyidina Ibrahim had promised his father to seek divine mercy for him before such a prayer was forbidden. The prohibition was imposed after this event. Allah Ta'ala has mentioned this event in Surah Mumtahina, where this exception is clearly indicated. Except that Ibrahim said to his father, certainly I shall ask pardon for you. Surah Al-Mumtahana, Ayah 4. This is more clear in Surah At-Tawbah in the verse following the verse. It is not for the Prophet and the believers to seek forgiveness for the mushriks. Surah At-Tawbah, Ayah 114. And the prayer of Ibrahim for the forgiveness of his father was not but due to a promise he had made to him. Later, when it became clear to him that he was an enemy of Allah, he withdrew himself from him. Surah At-Tawbah, Ayah 114. This shows that Sayyidina Ibrahim's promise to his father to invoke Allah's mercy for him was made before the latter's firm adherence to infidelity, and his hostility to Allah became clearly evident. When the position was no longer in doubt, Sayyidina Ibrahim announced his dissociation from his father.
And I will leave you and those you invoke other than Allah, and will invoke my Lord. I expect that I will not be in invocation to my Lord unhappy.
And go away from you, and what you invoke besides Allah, and I shall invoke my Lord. Surah Maryam, Ayah 48. On the one hand, Sayyidina Khalilullah went to the extreme to show his respect and love for his father, which has been described above, and on the other hand, he did not allow the slightest doubt to be cast on his expression of the universal truth, or on his total belief in it. He accepted willingly his father's orders to leave the house and also made it known that he had totally dissociated himself from his father's idols and addressed his prayers only to Allah.
So when he had left them and those they worshipped other than Allah, we gave him Isaac and Jacob, and each of them we made a prophet.
So when he went away from them and what they worshipped besides Allah, we blessed him with Ishaq and Yaqub. Surah Maryam, Ayah 49. In the sentence preceding this sentence had read, Abraham had expressed the hope that on account of his prayers and devotion Allah Ta'ala would not abandon him. This hope, in fact, was a prayer to Allah to protect him from the pain of loneliness after he left his house and family. The sentence reproduced above describes the manner in which his prayer was granted. When Abraham left his home and family and their idols, Allah Ta'ala rewarded him with a son, Ishaq, to compensate him for his loss. It was further revealed to him that this son would have long life and also beget a son by the name of Yaqub. Granting of a son is proof that he, Abraham, was married by then. In brief, it means that he was granted a better family, which consisted of prophets and pious people after he had left his father's family.
And we gave them of our mercy, and we made for them a reputation of high honor.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 49 for the Tafsir.
And mention in the book Moses. Indeed, he was chosen, and he was a messenger and a prophet.
Commentary. Indeed, he was a chosen one. Surah Maryam, Ayah 51, means a person whom Allah Ta'ala has chosen for himself, i.e. someone who will not devote himself to anyone but Allah, and whose only desire is to win Allah's benevolence. This special position is enjoyed by the prophets only as mentioned in the Qur'an and another place. We purified them with the quality most pure, the remembrance of the abode. Surah Sad, Ayah 46. Those among the followers of prophets who attain perfection are also granted a place of distinction, which makes them immune to committing sins and evil deeds through divine dispensation. They remain in Allah's protection all the time.
And we called him from the side of the mount at his right, and brought him near, confiding to him.
The right side of the Mount Surah Maryam, Ayah 52. This famous mountain, Tur Sinai, rises in Syria between Madian and Egypt, and is still known by the same name. Allah Ta'ala has given it a distinct and special position in many ways. The position of Mr. is given to the right side in relation to Sayyidina Musa, who had commenced his journey from Madian, and when he approached Tur, It was on his right side, is for whisper, is for confidential talk, and means a confidant.
And we gave him out of our mercy his brother Aaron as a prophet.
And we, out of our mercy, granted him his brother Harun. Surah Maryam, Ayah 53. Literal meaning of is a gift. Sayyidina Musa had prayed to Allah to grant prophethood to Sayyidina Harun also in order to provide him support. This prayer was granted, and the word has been used to describe this episode, i.e. the grant of the gift of Harun to Sayyidina Musa. That is why Sayyidina Harun is also known as the gift of Allah, Mashari.
And mention in the book Ishmael. Indeed, he was true to his promise, and he was a messenger and a prophet.
And mention in the book the story of Ismail. Surah Maryam, Ayah 54. The reference here is clearly to Sayyidina Ismail, the son of Sayyidina Ibrahim, who has not been mentioned earlier along with his father Ibrahim and brother Ishaq, but mention has been made of him after a brief interlude in which an account of Sayyidina Musa is given. It is possible that by making a reference to Sayyidina Ismail apart from others, instead of treating him along with them, the intention was to give him prominent status. In this verse the prophets have not been mentioned in the order in which they were granted missions of prophethood, because Idris, who has been mentioned last, was in fact the earliest of them all. He was indeed true to his promise. Surah Maryam, Ayah 54. Fulfillment of promise is regarded as an important part of the moral code by all decent men, just as a breach of it is considered worthy of contempt. A saying of the Holy Prophet has described the breaking of promise as a sign of hypocrisy. Thus, none of the prophets and messengers of Allah have been accused of bad faith, a breach of promise. Here certain attributes have been assigned to some of the prophets, but this does not mean that the other prophets did not possess them. It only suggests that these special attributes distinguish them from all the other prophets, just as Sayyidina Musa has been described as. All the other prophets possess this quality, but it has been specifically applied to Sayyidina Musa. Hence a special mention of him with the attribute. Sayyidina Ismail occupies a place of honor where keeping a promise is concerned, and he stood by his promise whether made to Allah or to humans. He fulfilled his promise to Allah that he would offer himself for sacrifice, and will not be found wanting in courage. When the time came, he stood by his promise. Once he promised to meet a man at an appointed place and time. The man did not turn up at the appointed time, but Sayyidina Ismail waited for him at the place for 3 days, and according to another tradition for full 1 year. Majari, a similar incident, is reported about the Holy Prophet by Tirmidhi. He, on the authority of Abdullah ibn Ari al-Khamsa, that he waited for 3 days for someone who had promised to meet him at a particular place. Qatu by importance of keeping one's promise. Fulfillment of promise is a distinctive trait of the character of the prophets and the pious, and a normal code of conduct with all decent persons. Breaking of a promise, on the other hand, is a habit of the wicked, mean, and liars. A saying of the Holy Prophet is a promise is like a debt, i.e. it is as obligatory to honor a promise as it is to repay a debt. There is another saying of the Holy Prophet which says, it means that promise is an obligation for a believer. Jurists are all agreed that a promise is a debt and its fulfillment obligatory, but only in the sense that its violation without a religious excuse is a sin, though no remedy can be sought for its breach in a court of law. In the language of the jurists, a debt is an obligation which is enforceable, while a promise is not.
And he used to enjoin on his people prayer and zakah, and was to his Lord pleasing.
A reformer must begin his mission with his own family, and he used to bid salah and zakah to his family. Surah Maryam, Ayah 55. A special attribute of Sayyidina Ismail is that he used to direct his family members to offer prayers and pay obligatory charity. Here the question arises that all Muslims are required to advise their family members to perform good deeds as the Quran addresses the believers. Save yourself and your family members from the fire of hell. Surah At-Tarim, Ayah 6. Then why has a special mention been made of Sayyidina Ismail in this matter? Fact is that although this injunction applies to all Muslims, Sayyidina Ismail used to make special efforts in following this directive. Likewise, the Holy Prophet also received special directive to warn his family members and close relations against Allah's wrath, and warn the nearest people of your clan. Surah Ash-Shara, Ayah 214. As a consequence, he assembled them all and conveyed to them Allah's command. The other point to consider here is that prophets are sent by Allah for the guidance of entire people. They convey Allah's message to everyone and bind them to obey His command. Then, what is the point in making special mention of the members of family? The thing is that there are certain principles which the prophets observe when calling upon people to follow the path of righteousness, and one of them is to give the call first to one's own family members before calling upon the general public. It is a lot easier to prevail upon one's own family members and to monitor their actions. Once the family members have accepted a certain way of life and have started acting on it routinely, then it becomes much easier to spread the same message among others at large. When people see for themselves others following a righteous path, it becomes much easier to convert them. The most effective means for bringing about an improvement in the character of the people is by creating a religious environment. Experience shows that virtue and vice both proliferate faster and wider in a receptive environment than through teaching and preaching.
And mention in the book Idris. Indeed, he was a man of truth and a prophet.
And mention in the book the story of Idris. Surah Maryam, Ayah 56. Say, Ibn Idris lived 1,000 years before Say Ibn Nuh and was among his ancestors. Ra'ul Ma'ani with reference to Mustadrak al-Hakim. He was the first prophet after Sayyidina Adam, and Allah Ta'ala bestowed upon him 30 books. Abizar Zampishari, Sayyidina Idris was the first man who was given the knowledge of astrology and mathematics through a miracle, Bar-ul Muhit. He was also the first man who learned how to write with a pen, and also the first who invented stitching of cloth. People used to wear animal skins instead of clothes before his time. He also invented measurement tools for the first time. Making of weapons also started in his time, and he used them in his wars, the Holy Wars, jihad against the descendants of Kabul. Bar-ul Muhit, Huttu by Majari Ra'ul Ma'ani.
And we raised him to a high station.
And we raised him to a high place. Surah Maryam, Ayah 57. It means that he was granted a special position among prophets and was close to Allah Ta'ala. There are also other versions about his ascent to the sky, about which Ibn Kathir has said. This is taken from the traditions of the Israelites as reported by Kab al-Ibar, some of which are disputed and unfamiliar. The Quranic words are not specific on the subject whether he was given a sublime position or was physically lifted to the sky. Therefore, his physical ascent to the sky is not definite. In any case, commentary of the Holy Quran is not dependent on this issue. Bayan al-Quran, from Bayan al-Quran, the difference between the definition of Rasul and Nabi and their interrelationship. The words Rasul and Nabi have been variously explained. Having considered all possibilities, I have come to the conclusion that the relationship between the two is on being specific or general on the basis of their application. Rasul is one who delivers a new code to those among whom he is sent, even though the code may be new to himself as well, like Torah to Sayyidina Musa, or the code be new only to his people, as was the case with Sayyidina Ismail. The code that he was preaching was in fact given to his father, Sayyidina Ibrahim, but it was new for the tribe of Jurhim, who did not know about it beforehand, and learnt its details from Sayyidina Ismail only, who was sent to them for this purpose. It therefore follows that it is not necessary for Rasul to be Nabi, just as the angels who are Rasul, but not Nabi, or the messengers sent to Sayyidina Isa, who are referred in Quran as Rasul, although they were not Nabi. Surah Yasin, Ayah 13. On the other hand, Nabi is the one who is the bearer of Wahi, Allah's message, regardless of whether he preaches an old or a new religious code. Many of prophets from Bani Israel fall under this category, as they preach the religious code given to Sayyidina Musa. Therefore, follows that the word Rasul is more general compared to Nabi. But in certain other ways converse is the case, where the two words are used together, as in the case of this verse where they appear, as there is no problem in that they can be taken both in specific or in general term, and there will not be any contradiction. But in such situations where the two words appear separately one against the other, then having regard to the relative position of the two words in the verse, the term Nabi will denote someone who is following the religious code brought by someone else.
Those were the ones upon whom Allah bestowed favor from among the prophets of the descendants of Adam, and of those we carried in the ship with Noah, and of the descendants of Abraham and Israel, and of those whom we guided and chose. When the verses of the Most Merciful were recited to them, they fell in prostration and weeping.
Those are the people whom Allah has blessed with bounties, the prophets from the progeny of Adam. This relates only to Sayyidina Idris, and from those whom we boarded the ark, along with Nuh. Surah Maryam, Ayah 58. This relates to Sayyidina Ibrahim only, and from the progeny of Ibrahim, Surah Maryam, Ayah 58. This relates to Ismail, Ishaq, and Yaqub. And Israel, Surah Maryam, Ayah 58. This points out to Sayyidina Musa, Harun, Zachariah, and Yahya and Isa, when the verses of the Rahman, all merciful, are recited before them, they fall down in sajda, prostration, weeping. Surah Maryam, Ayah 58. Some very prominent prophets have been mentioned in the preceding verses as also their exalted status. Thus, there was a real danger that people might raise them to an exaggerated and high position, as was the case with Jews who treated Sayyidina Uzair as God, or the Christians who elevated Sayyidina Isa to a level where they called him the Son of God. Therefore, after the mention of all those prophets, it was made very clear in the very next verse that they were all very God-fearing and used to prostrate themselves before Allah in extreme reverence. It is to avoid any possibility of crossing the limits of reverence for them. Al-Qur'an. Weeping during the recitation of Qur'an's divine book was the practice of the prophets. Weeping while reciting Qur'an is a commendable act and was also an attribute of the prophets. It has been reported that the Holy Prophet, his companions, their followers, and the God-fearing people followed this practice. Qutubah has reported that religious scholars consider it desirable that when going into sajda after reciting a verse of sajda, one should recite a prayer which is appropriate to the verse of sajda. For instance, in Surah Sajda, Surah 32, the following prayer be recited. O Allah, make me of those who prostrate to you alone, and who glorify you along with proclaiming your praise. And I seek refuge with you from being of those who turn their faces, in arrogance, against your command. While in the case of sajda at verse Surah Maryam, Ayah 109 of Surah Bani Israel, one should recite, O Allah, make me of those who weep before you, and who are humble in heart before you. And for the verse of sajda under reference, the following should be recited. O Allah, make me of those among your slaves upon whom you bestowed your bounties, who prostrate before you, who weep while reciting your verses. Qutubah.
But there came after them successors who neglected prayer and pursued desires, so they are going to meet evil.
Commentary. Khalf means bad successors, while Khalaf means good successors. Mashari Mujahid, may Allah have mercy on him, has reported that when the day of judgment would be near and the pious people would all be dead and gone, people will lose interest in prayers and indulge in all sort of vices and evil deeds. Offering prayers outside fixed time or not with congregation is a default and of no avail, and is a great sin. Most exegetes commentators are of the view that offering prayers after its time has lapsed is a default of prayers. Among them are Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Naqi, Qasim, Mujahid, Ibrahim, and Umar ibn Abdulaziz. While others consider that any lapse in the form and conditions of prayers is and includes the lapse of time as well. Still others believe that offering of prayers at home and not with the congregation is Qutubah bar-ul-Muhit. Sayyidina Umar al-Faruq, may Allah be pleased with him, had sent out a circular to all his governors saying, in my view the most important among your tasks is prayer. So whoever defaults in this will default in discharging his other obligations all the more. One Sayyidina Hudayfa, may Allah be pleased with him, saw someone offering his prayers without observing the prescribed rules, and was going through the rituals rather hurriedly without pausing. He asked the man how long he had been offering his prayers like that. The man replied, for the last 40 years. Then Sayyidina Hudayfa, may Allah be pleased with him, said, you have not offered a single of your prayers correctly. He further remarked, if you die offering your prayers like this, then remember you will die without following the course given by the Holy Prophet. Sayyidina Abu Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, has been quoted in Tirmidhi that the Holy Prophet had said that the prayer of a person is lost who does not observe, i.e., does not stand upright in his prayers. It means that if one does not pause while bowing down and prostrating in his prayers, or who does not stand straight up after bowing down, or does not sit up in between two prostrations, his prayers would be considered as not performed. Similarly, if one is not careful about ablution and his cleanliness, his prayers will also be lost. Sayyidina Hasan al-Basri, may Allah have mercy on him, has observed that leaving the mosques unattended and being over-involved in business and enjoyments of life is included in the meaning of this verse. Imam Qutubah, may Allah have mercy on him, after producing these sayings, had said that even knowledgeable people ignore the prescribed rules of prayers and merely go through its motions. He made this observation in the 6th century Hira when such people were few. Presently the position is worse, and there are many more people who disregard the rules of prayers. And pursued desires. Surah Maryam, Ayah 59, refers to all such worldly pleasures which make people negligent of their duty to Allah, making them lose interest in prayers. Sayyidina Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, has said that palatial houses and luxurious carriages which attract people's eye, and wearing dresses which distinguish a person from the common man, all fall within the category of worldly pleasures. So they will soon face the outcome of their perversion. Surah Maryam, Ayah 59. The word in Arabic language is the opposite of all virtues and good things are, and all vices and evils are. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, has reported that there is a cave in hell by the name which houses various types of severe punishments, more numerous than all the punishments of hell. Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, has remarked that even hell seeks protection from, which is the name of a cave in the hell. Allah Ta'ala has prepared it for habitual adulterers who persist in adultery, and for the drunkards who do not give up drinking, and for the users who do not stop taking interest, and for those who disobey their parents, and those who give false witness, and for the woman who declares someone else's child as her husband's. Qutubai.
Except those who repent, believe and do righteousness, for those will enter paradise and will not be wronged at all.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 59, for the Tafsir.
Therein are gardens of perpetual residence, which the Most Merciful has promised His servants in the unseen. Indeed, His promise has ever been coming.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 59, for the Tafsir.
They will not hear therein any ill speech, only greetings of peace, and they will have their provision therein, morning and afternoon.
They will not hear anything absurd therein but a word of peace. Surah Maryam, Ayah 62. Means idle, absurd, frivolous, and abusive talk, which will not reach the ears of good people who have been admitted to paradise, means that whatever one will hear in paradise will add to his happiness, peace, and tranquility. It includes the customary greetings, which the dwellers of paradise will exchange among themselves, and the angels of God will offer them all. Qutubai, and there they will have their provisions at morn and eve. Surah Maryam, Ayah 62. There will be no solar system in the paradise, and hence no rising or setting of the sun, but there will be a perpetual radiance. There will also be some way of telling day from night and morning from evening. Within this distinction between morning and evening, the paradise dwellers will receive their meals. It goes without saying that the wishes of the paradise dwellers will be fulfilled forthwith and for themselves. There is what they desire. Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 57. This is a general announcement. Hence, mention of morning and evening is because of people's habit to eat and drink in the morning and in the evening. According to an Arab saying, anyone who gets a full meal morning and evening is comfortable and at peace. Sayyidina Anas ibn Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, said after reciting this verse that it shows that the believers have their meals twice a day, one in the morning and the other in the evening. Some scholars have explained that mention of morning and the evening is a general expression, like day and night or east and west, which does not specify any particular time or place. Therefore it means that the paradise dwellers will get their provisions according to their choice at any time they like. Only God knows best. Qutubai.
That is paradise, which we give as inheritance to those of our servants who were fearing of Allah.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 62 for the Tafsir.
Gabriel said, "And we angels descend not except by the order of your Lord. To Him belongs that before us and that behind us and what is in between, and never is your Lord forgetful."
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 62 for the Tafsir.
Lord of the heavens and the earth and whatever is between them, so worship Him and have patience for His worship. Do you know of any similarity to Him?
Commentary. And persevere in His worship. Surah Maryam, Ayah 65. The word means perseverance in the face of acute distress and hardship. The point here is that anyone who wishes to be constant and steadfast in his prayers must be prepared to undergo pain and suffering. Do you know anyone worthy of his name? Surah Maryam, Ayah 65. In the generally accepted sense, the word applies to persons bearing the same name. The polytheists and idolaters had included many humans, angels, stones, and idols along with Allah Ta'ala in their worship, and designated all of them as i.e. as objects of worship, but it is a strange and extraordinary coincidence that none of their false gods was ever named as Allah. This matter was preordained, and no idol or deity bore the name Allah. Thus, the literal meaning of the word would adequately explain the meaning of this verse, which is that there is no object in the world bearing Allah's name. Many commentators, among them Mujahid, Ibn Zubair, Qatada, and Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, are of the view that in the present context the word means alike or comparable, and the sense of the verse is that in the entire pantheon of false gods none is equal or comparable to Allah Ta'ala in so far as divine attributes are concerned.
And the disbeliever says, when I have died, am I going to be brought forth alive?
See Surah Maryam, Ayat 65, for the Tafsir.
Does man not remember that we created him before, while he was nothing?
See Surah Maryam, Ayat 65, for the Tafsir.
So by your Lord, we will surely gather them and the devils. Then we will bring them to be present around hell upon their knees.
We will definitely gather them together with the devils. Then we will definitely make them present. Surah Maryam, Ayat 68. This verse may be interpreted in two ways. First, that on the day of judgment, every infidel will be brought before God along with his own devil, and this suggests that this is a reference to the gathering of infidels and their devils. But if it is interpreted in a general sense to include all believers and infidels, then the meaning of the devils being gathered with all of them would be that while the infidels will be gathered with their devils, the believers would also be gathered at the same time and place. Thus the devils will be gathered along with the infidels as well as with the believers around the Jahannam, fallen on their knees. Surah Maryam, Ayat 68. On the day of resurrection, everyone, believers, infidels, the blessed, and the wretched, will be assembled around hell. Everyone will be seized with awe and terror, and they will all be on their knees. Then the believers and the blessed will be taken across hell and admitted into paradise, so that having viewed the extreme suffering of hell, they may all the better enjoy their own state of felicity, and at the same time rejoice at the punishment which has been inflicted upon the infidels.
Then we will surely extract from every sect those of them who were worst against the most merciful in insolence.
Then we will certainly draw out from every group. Surah Maryam, Ayat 69. The word is applied to a particular person or the followers of a particular faith, and it also means a sect. The meaning of the verse is that the most rebellious from amongst the different sects of the infidels will be picked out. Some commentators say that the sinners will be committed to hell in the order of the intensity of their sins, i.e. those sinners will be driven in first whose sins are most intense, and those with less intense sins will follow them, and so on.
Then, surely it is we who are most knowing of those most worthy of burning therein.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 69, for the Tafsir.
And there is none of you except he will come to it. This is upon your Lord an inevitability decreed.
And there is none among you who is not to arrive at it. Surah Maryam, Ayah 71. This means that everybody, be he a believer or an infidel, will go across hell. However, this does not mean that they would go to stay in it, they would only go across it. But even if the word means entry, then the pious believers on entry into hell will feel no discomfort because its fires will cool down and will do no harm to them. Sayyidina Abu Sumayya, may Allah be pleased with him, has related that the Holy Prophet once said that everybody, whether he is a pious man or a sinner, will initially enter hell, but for the pious believers the fire will cool down, just as the fire of Namrud cooled down when Sayyidina Ibrahim was cast into it. Thereafter, the believers will be taken to paradise. This view is confirmed by the next sentence, which means then we will save those who feared Allah. Surah Maryam, Ayah 72. A similar view has also been expressed by Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him. Thus, even if the word occurring in the Quran is taken to mean entry, then the word will be interpreted as synonymous with the word going across. Thus there is no contradiction in the meaning of the word.
Then we will save those who feared Allah and leave the wrongdoers within it on their knees.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 71, for the Tafsir.
And when our verses are recited to them as clear evidences, those who disbelieve say to those who believe, which of our two parties is best in position and best in association?
Commentary. Superior in respect of its place and better in respect of its assembly. Surah Maryam, Ayah 73. The infidels never relaxed their efforts to confuse and perplex the believers. They were very rich and possessed material wealth in great abundance. They had their retinues, their followers, friends, and supporters. In contrast, the believers were poor and lacking in worldly assets. However, it is a common experience that material wealth turns people's heads and makes them unduly proud and arrogant, so that even the sensible and wise among them are led to believe that their prosperity and affluence is the reward of their personal merit and effort, and will last forever. History is replete with instances where prosperous communities and rich nations crumbled to dust and vanished without leaving a trace. But these instances of divine wrath hold no lesson for them, and fail to turn them from their erroneous ways. On the other hand, there are good people who, following the teachings of Qur'an, do not regard wealth and worldly honors as the result of their own effort and merit, but as Allah Ta'ala's bounty to be held as a trust from Him and to be expended according to His command. They are well aware that these gifts from Allah Ta'ala will not last forever, and the prospect of their abatement or even their total loss does not cause them any concern. These are the people who are safe from the mischief resulting from wealth and material abundance to which the infidels are exposed. Prophets like Sayyidina Sulaiman and Dawood, many followers of the Holy Prophet, and multitude among the pious believers fall in this category. Allah Ta'ala has dispelled the mistaken notions of the infidels by saying that the transient material prosperity cannot be regarded as a token of His goodwill, nor as a symbol of their own merit, because it often happens that foolish and undeserving people are loaded with wealth, while wise and learned persons spend their lives in poverty.
And how many a generation have we destroyed before them who were better in possessions and outward appearance?
See Surah Maryam, ayah 73 for the Tafsir.
وَكَمْ أَهْلَكْنَا قَبْلَهُمْ مِنْ قَرْنٍ هُمْ أَحْسَنُ أَثَاثًا وَرِئْيًا.
And how many a generation have we destroyed before them who were better in possession? Let the Most Merciful extend for him an extension in wealth and time until, when they see that which they were promised, either punishment in this world or the hour of resurrection, they will come to know who is worst in position and weaker in soldiers.
See Surah Maryam, ayah 73 for the Tafsir.
And Allah increases those who were guided in guidance, and the enduring good deeds are better to your Lord for reward and better for recourse.
And the everlasting virtues are better with your Lord in respect of reward and better in their return. Surah Maryam, ayah 76. These words have been interpreted differently by different scholars, as has been explained at some length in the commentary of Surah Al-Kahf. The more plausible interpretation, however, is that the words refer to submission to the commands of Allah and to good deeds, the benefits of which are everlasting by means consequences, and the sense of this verse is that good deeds alone are the real wealth whose reward is great and whose result is eternal peace.
Then, have you seen he who disbelieved in our verses and said, I will surely be given wealth and children in the next life?
Commentary. I shall certainly be given wealth and children. Surah Maryam, ayah 77. Bukhari and Muslim relate the story of Sayyid ibn Qabad ibn al-Arat, may Allah be pleased with him, who had lent some money to his Ibn Wa'il. When pressed to return the loan, as Ibn Wa'il said that he would not make the payment until he, Sayyid ibn Qabad, may Allah be pleased with him, dissociated himself from the Holy Prophet. Sayyid ibn Qabad, may Allah be pleased with him, replied that he would never do that not until as was dead, and rose to life again. At this, as Ibn Wa'il said, What? Will I be brought to life again after I am dead? If so, I will repay the loan only after I am brought back to life again, because even then I will have my wealth and my children. Qutubay.
Has he looked into the unseen, or has he taken from the Most Merciful a promise?
This verse is an answer to his Ibn Wa'il's boastful claim. How does he know that when he is brought back to life he will still have his wealth and children? As he peeped in the unseen Surah Maryam, ayat 78, it is obvious that nothing of this kind has happened. Then why has he considered it as a surety, or taken a covenant with the Rahman, all-merciful, or has he entered into a covenant with Allah Ta'ala and obtained a promise from him for his wealth and his children?
No, we will record what he says, and extend for him from the punishment extensively.
See Surah Maryam, ayah 78, for the Tafsir.
And we will inherit him in what he mentions, and he will come to us alone.
and we will inherit from him what he is talking about. Surah Maryam, ayah 80. It is foolish of him to talk about retaining his wealth and children in the hereafter, because he will have to leave behind even these things which he possesses in this world, and his wealth and children will all revert to Allah Ta'ala. And he will come to us all alone. Surah Maryam, ayah 80. And on the day of judgment he will appear in God's presence, one without his wealth and his children.
And they have taken besides Allah false deities, that they would be for them a source of honor.
See Surah Maryam, ayah 80, for the Tafsir.
No, those gods will deny their worship of them, and will be against them opponents on the day of judgment.
And they will be just the opposite for them. Surah Maryam, ayah 82. The idols and the false gods whom the infidels worshipped in the hope of winning their help will turn against them on the day of judgment. God will grant speech to them, and they will say, O God, finish these sinners, because they turned away from you and made us the objects of their worship.
Do you not see that we have sent the devils upon the disbelievers, inciting them to evil with constant incitement?
Commentary. Inciting them with all their incitements. Surah Maryam, ayah 83. In Arabic language, the words are synonymous, differing only in shade or degree, and mean to urge, incite, instigate. The word means to apply strong pressure to persuade somebody to do something. The sense of this verse is that the devils instigate the unbelievers to persist in their evil ways by presenting before their eyes the benefits and hiding from them the wickedness of their evil deeds.
So be not impatient over them. We only count out to them a limited number.
We are but counting for them a countdown. Surah Maryam, ayah 84. This verse means, do not be impatient about their punishment, because it is going to befall upon them in any case and very soon. We have allowed them a fixed term in this world, and that term is about to end. Then will come their retribution. Means, we are counting for them, i.e. they do not have control on anything. Their days are numbered, and we keep account of every moment of their life and everything they do. Once Maman Rashid read Surah Maryam. Upon reading this particular verse, he desired that Ibn Simak, one of the Islamic scholars sitting in that meeting with him, to say something on it. Thereupon Ibn Simak submitted that when our breaths are numbered and their number cannot be enhanced, they will soon come to an end. The same notion is reflected in the following poetic verse, that is, the breaths of your lifer are counted. With every passing breath, your life gets reduced to that extent. It is said that during one span of 24 hours, one breathes 24,000 times. Qutubai, the following stanza, explores the same context, that is, how can one be so engrossed and relaxed with the worldly pleasures, while his words and breaths are being counted? Ra.
On the day, we will gather the righteous to the Most Merciful as a delegation.
The day we will assemble the God-fearing before the Rahman, all merciful, as guests. Surah Maryam, ayah 85. The word applies to those who are received by rulers and princes with respect and honor. According to some sayings of the Holy Prophet, he said, these men will ride on their mounts which they used in their worldly life. Some say that their own virtuous deeds will take the shape of their mounts.
And will drive the criminals to hell in thirst.
Towards the Jahannam as herds towards water. Surah Maryam, ayah 86 means to go towards water, and since only a thirsty man or animal goes towards water, this word has been translated to denote a thirsty person.
None will have power of intercession except he who had taken from the Most Merciful a covenant.
Except the one who has taken a covenant with the Rahman, all merciful. Surah Maryam, ayah 87. Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, has said that means the declaration of firm belief in the unity of Allah Ta'ala, while others say that means committing the Qur'an to memory. In brief, only those people will have the permission to intercede with Allah who stand firm by their covenant to adhere to the true faith. Ra.
And they say, the Most Merciful has taken for himself a son.
See Surah Maryam, ayah 87, for the Tafsir.
You have done an atrocious thing.
See Surah Maryam, ayah 87, for the Tafsir.
The heavens almost rupture therefrom, and the earth splits open, and the mountains collapse in devastation.
Commentary. And the mountains to fall down crumbling. Surah Maryam, ayah 90. These verses suggest that the earth, The mountains and everything that grows thereon possess a certain degree of knowledge and intelligence, though in their case these perceptions are not of the same extent as that bestowed on human beings. This explains the fact that everything in the world glorifies Allah Ta'ala, as will be evident from the verse. There is not a single thing that does not extol His purity and praise. Surah Al-Isra, Ayah 44. These verses refer to this very perception of these things, that to associate anything or being with Allah Ta'ala, especially to assert that He has children, is a sin which makes the earth and the mountains quake with fear. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, has said that except humans, every created thing is terrified of any suggestion of association with Allah. Ra'ul Ma'ani.
That they attribute to the Most Merciful a son.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 90 for the Tafsir.
And it is not appropriate for the Most Merciful that He should take a son.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 90 for the Tafsir.
There is no one in the heavens and earth but that He comes to the Most Merciful as a servant.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 90 for the Tafsir.
He has enumerated them and counted them a full counting,
and precisely calculated their numbers. Surah Maryam, Ayah 94. It means that Allah Ta'ala has full knowledge of their doings.
And all of them are coming to Him on the day of resurrection alone.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 94 for the Tafsir.
Indeed, those who have believed and done righteous deeds, the Most Merciful will appoint for them affection.
For them the Rahman, All-Merciful, will create love. Surah Maryam, Ayah 96. It means that for those who are steadfast in their faith in Him, Allah creates an environment of friendship and love for each other, which consequently promotes mutual amity and goodwill among the true Muslims. Furthermore, by their conduct and behavior they command the admiration and respect of all those with whom they come into contact. Bukhari, Tirmidhi, and others have related on the authority of Sayyidina Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Holy Prophet once said that when Allah Ta'ala is pleased with someone, He says to Jibreel, I am pleased with so and so, and I desire that you too should show favor to him. Jibreel makes an announcement to this effect in all the skies, so that their residents begin to harbor a liking for that person. Then this love descends upon the earth, and the people of the earth also begin to love him. The Holy Prophet then quoted this verse, Ra'ul Ma'ani, surely those who believe and do the righteous deeds, for them the Rahman, All-Merciful, will create love. Surah Maryam, Ayah 96. Haram bin Hayyan has said that when a person devotes himself wholly towards Allah, He fills the hearts of all believers with love for Him. Qutubai, when Sayyidina Ibrahim Khalilullah planned to go back to Syria, after leaving behind his wife Hajira and his baby son Sayyidina Ismail in the desert enclosed by the barren hills of Makkah, in accordance with the command of Allah, he also prayed for both of them with the following words, so make hearts of a number of people yearn toward them. Surah Ibrahim, Ayah 37. The prayer was granted so that even after the lapse of many millennia, people all over the world entertain great love for Makkah and its inhabitants. They visit the place in large numbers, and not only incur heavy expenditure, but also endure great hardships while making the journey.
So, O Muhammad, we have only made the Quran easy in the Arabic language, that you may give good tidings thereby to the righteous, and warn thereby a hostile people.
See Surah Maryam, Ayah 96, for the Tafsir.
And how many have we destroyed before them of generations? Do you perceive of them anyone, or hear from them a sound?
Or hear from them even a whisper. Surah Maryam, Ayah 98. The word means a faint, unintelligible sound such as a death rattle. The meaning of the verse is that there have been many kings who ruled vast empires, exercised unlimited authority, and lived in great splendor, but when the wrath of Allah caught upon them for their sinful acts, they were annihilated in such a manner that not even a whisper or a feeble motion is now being heard of them.